What's up guys, Coach Az. One of the most common criticisms I get in my video, especially in terms of my own personal technique, is that my guard is low, that I drop my hands after I punch, that I leave my chin open to be hit. It's on purpose. Just to be clear, I don't work in traditional Queensberry rules with my hands up by my chin. I have always, in the whole duration of my career, fought with my hands down low. And if you believe that having your hands up here is the only viable option, then I urge you to start watching fights after the early 90s. If you look in any discipline, whether it be boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA, any striking discipline, plenty of top level athletes are now changing the way they think about their guard position. Rather than just thinking of it as a tool for defense, they're starting to place their hands in a way that it can be more effective for attack. So what I want to do in today's video is give you 5 reasons and 5 arguments for why I think the low guard is a really effective way of placing your hands. Now obviously you're free to do whatever you want with this information. You can completely disregard it, you can argue it, or you can consider it and try putting it into some of your own practice, regardless of what striking discipline you like to work. So reason number 1 is the low center of gravity. By having my hands down closer to my hips as opposed to up here closer to my shoulders, I get to lower my center of gravity. And the reason this is beneficial is down to footwork. I also like to work quite a wide karate-based stance, and what this low guard allows me to do is to use it almost like, imagine someone walking on a tightrope where they place their arms out to the side. When I'm moving around, I can often put myself in what people would consider a compromised position. Maybe my feet cross over, maybe I put too much weight onto one leg, but I can use my arms to compensate onto the opposite side and to help balance me out. Good examples of this being used at high level are Dominic Cruz and TJ Dillashaw. They're very famous for this in the UFC, of using very unorthodox footwork and the low guard to help compensate their body weight and keep them in a safe position. You'll typically see people advocating for a high guard, particularly from the realms of boxing and Muay Thai, where this kind of footwork doesn't really come into play as often. It's not to say they don't have amazing footwork, it's just a different approach to things. Now, arguably, a lot of that could be psychological, but I have tried to move the way I move with a high guard, and I find that I struggle with it. I find that I feel that my center of gravity is just a little too high up by my head, and that my legs and hips won't move the way I want them to. Number 2, my strikes can come from unusual angles. So rather than the typical straight line that a jab or a cross would come through, my punches come upwards. Now I find that people find this more difficult to see coming, especially the initial starting movement. And that initial start means that I can get a head start on throwing the technique before they start to react. Now in particular, if people aren't used to responding to this kind of guard, if they're not used to seeing punches coming from this angle, it often means that they don't respond the way they typically would if it was coming from a more classic position. And this is where doing something that's a little unusual, that breaks away from the norm, can be really beneficial. Everyone keeps their guard up, everyone punches from here and here. So therefore, when you come in and start punching from here and here, you break the status quo, and people aren't used to seeing it in the training room. They're not used to responding and reacting to stimulus coming at them from that direction. It's the same reason that a lot of people have issues with southpaws. They see them less often. There's less people who fight in right stance, and that means that in your training room, in your sparring room, you're not seeing it as much and you're not being exposed to it. The punches are the same. It's still jab, cross and hook, but suddenly they're coming from different angles and different directions, and that small change is enough to throw people off. Number 3, my arms can be used for more than just my guard. One of the things having a low guard forces you to do is rely more on your footwork and head movement for your defense. At the end of the day, it takes time to bring your hands up in order to block, so you need to start utilizing things like getting your head off the center line and moving your feet quickly to maintain the distance a lot more often. What this means is I'm not fully reliant on my arms for defense, and therefore they're free to be used for other things. One great benefit of the low guard, and something you'll see people who use it do a lot, is placing it out almost like a measuring stick. They're putting their arm out in front to measure the distance of their opponent in a very safe way. If their hand gets close to hitting their foot or their arm, they know that they might need to create distance or simply throw a strike. They know that they've got plenty of space, they know they're in a safe place to work, they can change their footwork, create angles, and it means that having that low guard isn't going to be so much of an issue. Another thing you can do with that free arm is start setting traps. You can use it to draw your opponent's eye line and create an opening on the opposite side. You'll often see people with a low guard, and I like to do this a lot myself, moving that front arm around a lot, up, down, left, right, trying to draw the attention of the eyes. The eyes are drawn towards moving objects, and when we're fighting, we're obviously looking to respond to things that are coming our way, punches and kicks. So this is a way of almost soft faking, using jokers to create setups and create openings that might otherwise not be there. Number 4 is setting up counters. When you put your arms down, people try to hit you in the head. Your head is an open, exposed target, and it makes sense that opponents are going to try and focus in on landing a shot on it. The beauty of it is that we can use this to our advantage. When we know where the strikes are coming to, when we know where people's intentions are going, it makes it far easier to predict their shots and to create opportunities to counter. I will often purposely lean my head forward and present it to my opponent in a view of opening up a counter. Again, if you're going to have a low guard, you must work extensively on your ability to move your feet and move your head. So you need to develop a confidence with being able to put your head in the danger zone, put it in the firing line, and being able to retract it quickly. That way you can set the trap, draw out, create the opening from your opponent's attack, and counter off of it. Finally, number 5, and this is probably the most important of the lot, it works for me. It's a personal preference. I like to experiment with things from all kinds of different styles. I enjoy all disciplines, from boxing to Muay Thai to MMA, karate, taekwondo, and I like to take small bits from each style and create my own. And part of that was coming down to determining how I wanted to place my hands and the benefits I see from different areas. It doesn't mean I think there's anything wrong with having your hands up by your chin or going with a Philly shell or any variation thereof. Do whatever works for you, but experiment and figure that out for yourself. So to all those who comment on my videos telling me how my chin is exposed and my guard is down, you're the exact kind of person I like to spar, because I know exactly what you're aiming for and I know when to pull and when to counter. Try to think with a bit more of an open mind and understand that there's more than one way to approach fighting, guard, and defense. Guys, I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has done, please hit that like button for me, hit subscribe. We've got new videos coming out every week, and I will see you on the next one.